Is this whole rig reliable? How well does it work for you?
Yeah, super reliable. I mean, like as reliable. The original setup that I had was also super reliable. It was always really good. The only thing sometimes, I mean, I don't know, like I've obviously had all my, I made all the mistakes and now it's pretty much fine. Sometimes, like what happened, like the only time things like I kind of that screw up for me is when if things break, obviously, like so, and sometimes some of the things are really difficult to get good quality. Like the dongle that I used to have, um, that I was using before, kind of broke because I stood on. Basically, I don't know. Something happened and it stopped working. So then I had to do a couple of shows where without a powered USB hub. And then when you don't, if
Oh,
you don't have a
wow.
powered USB hub, then you basically, you know,
Sweating bullets.
yeah, and
Oh,
so
man.
and for the last, I got through like 90% of the show, and then for some reason it wasn't reading the Allen and Heath mixer as my sound card. So, but what's crazy is the Helix is also a interface. It can run as an interface. So what ended up happening is it switched over, and then the audio, it basically started routing all of my tracks through the Helix and then back into the mixer. So the mixer just became like an analog mixer at that point, which is
Wow.
fine. Nobody could tell except me because I didn't have the same in-ear mix, right? I had the same in-ear mix that they were having out the front, which means my vocal was too quiet for my in-ears. But it's fine. I took my in-ears out and I just like sang. I got through the last 3 or 4 songs and no one could tell. So that's what's great about
Oh
it.
my God. Well done.
It's like a backup system having the Helix. If the Helix didn't have interface capabilities, I wouldn't have been able to continue the show. But then obviously I just went out and bought a new dongle and I'm fine again, right? So that's the only thing that's unreliable. It's not necessarily the software; it's the modular bits of hardware that you have to put together. Once you've figured out, I think that's the thing that a lot of people kind of start having issues with Loopy when they first start is getting all the bits, the right bits that talk to each other. Because there are some hubs you can spend a lot of money on a hub, and this hub doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like I bought the Electron hub, which would cost me like 250 euros. It's
What?
metal and it's powered, and that works worse than a 30 euro one. You know what I mean? That I bought. That's
Oh,
just,
come on.
I know.
I was
So
going to say you probably just need to spend enough on a hub. I guess not. Yeah.
no, it's not the amount you spend. This last one that I bought is actually really reliable. What is that? It's been some
Yeah.
weird
What is it?
Copland, you know? Yeah. So the one that I had before was actually was great, and the only reason it broke and exploded was because it had 4 USB ports to run all my setup, so that was great, and then I had 3 that just distributed power. So one of those went out and charged my iPad, and then the other 2 would charge a second pair of the Sennheiser things while I'm doing my show. So I'd have on rotation. A pair would be charging from the hub, and then the other pair I'd be using. And then the next gig, I'd already have the charged pair, and I just swap them over, and it was great. But then I did this show where it was charging, it fell off, and I stood on it, and that basically broke the cable, and then that basically blew up the USB hub. So it was my fault. I stood on it and destroyed it. The USB hub was fine. It's not that it was an unreliable hub. I think it's short circuit or it blew up some kind of a thing on the inside because the power. And then I didn't know that. I got to the next gig and it wasn't working. And so I was like, ah, shit. So then I had to do the
Oh
gig
no.
without bus power. But yeah, other than that, like everything's
That's
great.
hairy.
I did the first time I ever did a gig with Loopy Pro. You had a dream you remember this.
Yeah.
You had a dream that it wasn't working, and you were there with me. I'm in Berlin at the time, or Hamburg. I was in Hamburg, and your dream was spot on. What happened was I did the sound check, everything was great, and then I went backstage. I came back out the front, and the iPad had run out of battery. And I'm like standing, and everyone's like, yes. And I'm like, oh shit, there's no power. And I had to sit there and let it charge for like 30 minutes. And
We're just gonna sing some songs together.
oh my God, that was so embarrassing. And it was like, it wasn't
Oh
anyone's
my
fault
God.
other than my own. But also, that was using the old iPad, which had a lightning connector. And that also was us a bit of an issue back in the day.
Yeah,
Because, like,
they're awful.
the lightning connector was so unreliable and it would just fall out. And if the bass frequencies would just knock it. And just the tiniest little fraction of movement would stop it from working and it would disconnect. So that
That's
was
such
shit.
a bad design. You're telling me at one gig you'd like you were moving around a heap and you like whacked it out of the port.
Yeah, that's I'm sure that happened a few times. And obviously then I upgraded to the USB-C, and it's fine. And the USB-C clicks in, everything's good. Once the point is with Loopy Pros, because of the fact that it's modular, it's not an all-in-one system like the 505 is. But once you get it all going, the quality is just like a quantum leap in it. It's just getting to the point where everything, and I've got friends that I've got moved over. Like I've got a guy in Japan, this Buddhist monk, Yogetsu, and he moved from the RC505 to Loopy Pro. I think you've been in touch with him. Have you spoken to him? He told me.
Yeah, we're in touch. Yeah.
And my boy Andy V as well, who I used to tour with, he's now in the process, literally as we speak, of setting up his new setup with the Loopy Pro. I've got a lot of people on to Loopy Pro.
Thank you.
And they keep hitting me questions. And they're frustrated because I can't get this thing to work. And it's like, it's always the simplest thing that they haven't, but because they just got to get their head around how the software works and getting the right hubs. And the craziest one is the Apple hub. This one here, for example, right? This one does not charge the iPad properly.
What?
You have to buy a third party to charge the iPad and use it for some reason. And everyone I know buys the Apple one first.
Of course you do.
And they're like, it's not charging. Yeah, of course you do. And then you charge it and it doesn't work. And then you buy just some random one off Amazon or whatever. And it does work.
That's wild.
Yeah, isn't it
We're
crazy?
going to have to get a complete rundown of all the gear that you've got and put it in the comments below this video.
Yeah.
So
Well, I kind of, the good thing is like I was just in America and I just went to a Best Buy, which is sort of, like a Office Works or whatever equivalent. It's like where you just go eat electronic stuff. And for literally like $20, I bought a new hub, which works brilliant. So it's not like it's hard to find equipment. It's just, I find that as long as I think these days as well, more and more, everything's working more solid than when I first started a few years ago.
Well, that's interesting. You think the quality's gotten better?
As in, like, I don't know. I guess, I think everything is just like, everything's always getting better a lot of the time, right? I don't know. You might get unlucky and find some hub that doesn't work, but yeah, usually the cheap sort of ones work the best, actually.
That's so weird.
They might not last as long, so you do have to have a couple in your case. I've always got a couple with me.
Yeah, that's probably the way to go. You just buy 5 of them and then just have them there if you need to switch them out. Oh
God. Like 2. I mean, I've always got a second one in my case ready to go. So,